Our circumstances do not define who we are. What does it mean to be a sovereign woman? This is a question that I was asked last month on a Women in Psychedelics panel hosted by Plant Medicine Path. And when I was asked it, it hit me right here. It felt big. It felt like there was a lot of potential in that question. It's an exciting question to really sit with and ponder on. First, I asked myself, well, what is sovereignty to me? Being set aside the me being a woman part, what is sovereignty to me? And to me, sovereignty is having a conscious awareness that we are sovereign. No matter whether or not we are conscious of it or not, we are free beings that have ownership of our choices throughout the day, every day. It is simply a great illusion when we are operating with the belief that our life is chosen for us by others. That to me is living in a place of martyrdom at best and slavery at worst. That may sound extreme to you, but it is not to me, as I have in layers and parts been awakening to my birthright to co-create my life as I want it to be and not as I am told it should be by others. And so stepping into our sovereignty is simply acknowledging that we can, that our circumstances do not define who we are. We get to define more and more as we become more and more conscious of our ability to do so. We get to define our circumstances, which, whoa, that is huge. That's a big feeling, especially when we consider our most challenging circumstances, the ones that we tell ourselves over and over again that we don't want, that we didn't choose this, and why is this happening to us? To consider that maybe, just maybe, this is happening for us to help us rise above it is oftentimes, incredibly challenging and painful, especially living in a time where culturally we have lost a lot of tradition and initiatory rites of passage, where our community is acknowledging that we are transitioning, shedding off an old part of ourselves and stepping into a reborn aspect of ourselves. It can feel so confusing, and especially without that container of community. And so when we look at these most painful parts of our life experience and consider that we get to own our response to them, we then must really summon from a place, the deepest place within ourself, the energy and courage to walk through that pain with ownership and faith that it is here for us to transcend it. For instance, I was arrested in 2015 along with my now husband for possession of sacred mushrooms. So that was just over a decade ago. And at the time, I felt like such a victim on so many levels. I was angry. I was deeply angry at the lawmakers, the unjust laws that are in place, categorizing sacred plants and fungi as harmful as methamphetamine and lethal substances, when in fact they are our birthright to commune with and talk to God, our creator, source, with the help of these sacred technologies. Oh, like the anger was so deep within me. And so much so that I was angry at sacred mushrooms. I had a narrative that they had tricked me, they had fooled me, and were ruining my life. And I stepped into such a place of victimhood for years about that. And the more I saw myself sinking into a place of this happened to me from a force that is external to me, and I had no choice in the matter. I was tricked. The harder my life got, and the more powerless I felt, until with the help of various mentors and community members and my husband and unseen forces helping to show me and remind me that experience, as hard as of a pill as it was to swallow, happened because in large part my actions led to my arrest. I was hiding my practice. I was hiding it from the public, and I was living in a place of fear. And that fear, of course, created an environment for myself where I was living in the shadows. And how do you get out of the shadows? Sometimes when we don't proactively choose to step out of the shadow, the light has to be forced in, and things have to crumble for the light to get in. And that's exactly what happened. And if it wouldn't have been for our arrest, then who knows? I mean, I probably would have still been living in the shadows, and many, many people that have benefited from the gifts that I have to offer the world wouldn't have benefited. The many, many hundreds of people that since our arrest happened that have benefited from the gift of sacred mushrooms and the gift of our retreat work and my energetic work, holding space with a variety of people working with the mushroom and people who are holding space with the mushroom, and so many people, they probably wouldn't have benefited. So that's a big experience. And you listening, I'm inviting you to, and, I'm still answering this question here of what is a sovereign woman, because I've only got to the sovereign part. But for you listening, as I'm sharing this, I invite you to take a look at one of the most painful parts of your life right now, the thing that haunts you. And you know it, like in your bones what that is. And I invite you to consider, that reframe, how that flips the script for you, and how that might change how you show up day to day when you operate with a belief that it happened for you. And that you now, in each moment, get to choose your response to it, even the memory of it, the memory of our past, and how we acknowledge it, how we see it, how we approach it or avoid it, and talk with ourselves about it and to others about it, shapes our current reality and our future. In every single moment, we get to choose how that past, which is living in our present moment on replay, we get to choose. It isn't choosing us. The people that are involved aren't choosing our life right now. We are. You are. It's a big thing to wake up to. It can be, there are phases, many phases of stepping into that in our life. And we get to do that. My belief to my core is that we get to do that. That's what we're here for. That we chose this. We chose this. And I know that's a hot take, because that then forces us to ask some really hard questions about the things that we really, really don't feel like we didn't choose in our life. And that's big. That's really, really big. And I want to reiterate, painful. It's a great feeling that we can step into in a different way when we come from that perspective. And, there's a lot of implications there. And it can also be really empowering to be liberated from the prison of believing that everything around us is trapping us in a current state of being. And when we can step out of that, as hard and incredibly painful as it may be, on the other side of that pain is liberation and freedom and creating a life that fills us up and is connective with something, a force so much bigger than we are often conscious of with our own two eyes. When we can remember that we are one with that all creative force, the world is our oyster. And we open up, whether you're a man listening or a woman listening, we open up to ourselves as liberated beings, and the implications are huge. So getting to the woman part about what is a sovereign woman. A sovereign woman to me is a woman who claims her experience, her full experience as a woman, claims every part of it, every juicy, big, sensational part of womanhood. That encompasses so much. That encompasses, the physicality of being a woman, of our incredible bodies, our ability to create and bring life into the world on multiple levels. Our ability to experience the renewal process that we have in our menstrual cycles, and to not shut that down, to not say, I don't want this. I don't want a period. I don't want to go through this process of menopause, as uncomfortable and sensational as it is. I want to embrace it. I don't want to shove it down. I don't want to repress it. I don't want to numb my womanly experience. I want to be in it, and to embrace our sensuality as women, our incredible capacity to experience pleasure in so many different ways. And this is something that I'm is such an unfolding experience for me that I am so looking forward to giving myself to more and more and more, is my sensuality and my ability to receive and experience pleasure on so many levels with this amazing body that I have. And to be a sovereign woman, to recognize our power as women. There is a narrative out here on the streets that women don't get as much as men. And I understand completely where that narrative has come from. And I get why it exists. And there are realities that have come from us buying into that narrative as women, because we have just accepted it as true over many, 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 many hundreds of years and thousands of years at this point, that we are less powerful as men. We certainly are not equal in our abilities. We have very different gifts, men and women do. And we are equal in our power. Women are incredibly, incredibly powerful. And it behooves each one of us to start really believing and seeing in all of the ways how we have great power in our many systems, in our relationship systems that we're in, the power that we have as women to bring life into any relationship, the power that we have in our family. Women are like the great magnet that our family revolves around. We have so much power culturally and in our society. And it is imperative that we believe that, and not just believe it, because belief really just kind of implies that we have a faith in it, but that we experience it for ourselves and we claim it for ourselves. So I'm really wondering how all of this is landing for you listening. Totally understandably, this can be really activating to hear this perspective of empowered woman. And that's a great thing. I want you to feel intentionally activated energetically when you come here and you listen to these episodes, if you will, with me, because I come in contact with so many women who tell me things like they feel numb. They feel numb. They feel emotionally numb at the end of the day. They feel physically numb, out of touch with themselves, out of touch with their bodies, can't remember who they are anymore, feel a great disconnect between themselves, their spouses, their families, their friendships, their divinity. And it's time that we step back into that full sensation of womanhood. And when we do that, the ship rocks and changes start happening, and can be a little bit messy because when we come into our power, when we step into our power and claim it, it's kind of like learning to walk, like a baby learning to walk again, because it can feel clumsy. It can feel a little disorienting because it requires us, once we see, it's hard to unsee. We certainly do it all of the time as women and men and just people, is see something and then pretend we don't see it and just keep on living in the comfortable hell rather than choosing the uncomfortable heaven, so to speak, that we can choose once we see the truth. But it requires us to then, if we want to live in that life-filled experience, and we want to stop complaining about our circumstances, about our relationship, about our workplace, our boss, our employees, our gripey customers, or whatever it might be, about society at large, the government, the politics, the powers that be. If we want to really stop with the complaining and start living, then that means we got changes to make. And we don't have to change everything at once, that's for sure. But sometimes it does feel like there is an electric surge running through us that some call a spiritual awakening, that some call a Kundalini awakening, or whatever term you want to use, or, cultural, spiritual identification you want to call it. It can lead to some pretty big changes in your life. And it is so incredibly helpful to have community with those changes, and to just know that you're not alone, and that your divine guidance is really, really on to something, despite what everything around you is telling you. So my great wish for all of you who are listening to this and who listen to this channel is that coming here provides that reminder that no, you're not crazy. No, there's nothing wrong with you. You are an incredible being who is here for an important reason. And I want you to remember that and know that you're on to something, and to follow that thread that feels like inspiration, to follow that thread that is desire, the thread that is expansive. And even when it's scary, that it's expansive and scary. Because when we're in the midst and on the verge of something great and wonderful in our life, it is going to be accompanied by fear. And we can check and see if it's the kind of fear we want to lean into by asking ourselves, is this kind of fear feel like it's contractive and dampening my power? Or is this the type of fear that feels expansive and there's potential there, and it could lead to something great for what's important to me in my life, my values, my sovereignty, my health, my family, and my community. I trust that you enjoy this episode because you're here till the end. If you're not yet, subscribe to this channel, and that way you'll be notified when I release new videos. I have something very exciting and nourishing and life-giving coming your way, and I want you to be in the know. So make sure you are subscribed to not only this channel, but my email list as well, which you will find in the show notes. And I look forward to having you back here very soon. Wishing you a wonderful rest of your week.